my objective is to include only one story, so I hope it wouldn't be too humorous. Topic is serious because Kazakh guests are serious. Well, let me start. We Kazakh do love receiving guests, and the thing we like the more is to go visit some guests, and it's very peculiar to Kazakh to have guests as mostly guests visiting and guests are coming, our relatives. It's natural for us, right? Of course, we even have a proverb. A friend is for 100 years and the relative is for 1,000 years. Do you remember that proverb? Yeah. No reaction, like I'm
trying to translate in my mind.
Recall that. Well, and of course we try, according to that proverb, we try to pay a due respect to our relatives. But there are sometimes it's quite difficult to do it because there are, of course, people we like to have as guests and people we're not very happy to see. Well, let's face the truth, okay? I'm not saying something that...
I'm very happy to receive guests.
Yes, me too. Well, that's why I chose that topic. Well, and I can name I can make a guess and name a few types of guests we don't like. Well, we're not very happy, we're not very enthusiastic to meet. Like a stranger that appeared to be a great dad's nephew of some sister-in-law. Okay. Or someone you never seen or you heard of him or her having great dreams and great potential and coming to a city and have no place to stay, so he's hoping or she's hoping to stay at your home only a few days and you have no other option than to believe. Or some people, especially women, are very nice to meet until they want to award you with a smack like "Bitne akil," right? Well, but today I'm not going to tell stories about the different types of guests because it's not my concern for today, but the problems I meet, the problems I encounter when I invite the guests or I'm going to guest. And in my family, well, the guest tradition can slightly be different from family to family. In my family, we have a very busy period of receiving guests twice a year. The first is in December when me and my relatives from every city, we visit each other like in a rotation, guest rotation the whole month, feasting the Sohum. The other period is right now is Ramadan, and the problem I encountered is I think it's very modern because it's all about scheduling the time for guests and deciding the amount of guests. Let me illustrate that with a story I read once from Mark Twain. It's the story about the dry law period, the dry law times. The dry law, you know what?
No.
The alcohol is prohibited totally, production, trade, consumption. Well, and in America, few years before, the Twain writes, few years before, a stranger came to a dry town and he discovered that the only place he could get a drink was at the pharmacist. So he went to the pharmacist and asked for a drink. Then he found that he needed a doctor's prescription except for a snake bite. in order to get a drink. So he asked, "Where's the snake?" The apothecary gave him the address of that snake, and the man went off. Soon however, he came back and said, "For goodness sake, give me a drink. That snake is engaged months ahead." Well, yeah, that was American joke, that's why. And then the situation I encounter is the same, because when I wanted to invite some guests, I learned that they have a schedule for a month ahead, the whole Ramadan. And of course, the weekends are limited, and the number of relatives are limited, thank goodness. And that rotation is very different to arrange the date that will fit all the sides of the relatives. Almost like ATC Hunger Games that we had recently. and it's very difficult to decide the date, the guests, and to avoid the offense. God save you from the Kazakh offense, that the Kazakh offense can move the continent. Well, and it's easy to reflect on Kazakh traditions when centuries had passed over that traditions, and we're writing a paper for a history, for example, subject in school. But can we reflect on modern Kazakh traditions right now? Like modern at times, because I doubt that my grandparents had the problem with scheduling and booking the dates and guests. So the question arises is, can we reflect our modern tradition? Thank you for your attention.